So what are you doing to the frogs?
Right now, we're investigating gene editing. So that's a type of synthetic biology where you go in and you change letters of the DNA code. This is at the cutting edge of research. So we have to get eggs right when they've been fertilized, and we do that with frog IVF. Get the fertilized egg, we then inject it with a tiny bit of liquid that contains the components to do the gene editing. We work on a disease, we track down the culprit, and it was this fungus that seemed to be driving these populations of this frog to extinction. And this fungus is a global pandemic, so it impacts frogs everywhere. There's a tremendous responsibility on being the first person to do something. So we can't get it wrong. We can't set this field back. We have to do good science. We're going to try these synthetic biology techniques, gene editing, and we're going to generate lines of frogs that produce these genes that we think protect them, and then we'll see if it actually protects them. We don't want to make a new organism. We just want to help an organism by assisting their evolution. It's something that hasn't been done in conservation before. Other thing that we do is we do vaccinations. So we have developed a really effective vaccine against Chytrid fungus.
You have?
Yes.
You developed it?
Yes. This is one of the first wildlife vaccines that's been developed. And it's effective. We've done pilot studies, we have field trials, and we're starting to implement it as part of the management for some of the species here in Australia. But how elegant would it be if we can come up with something that didn't require us to continue messing around with nature? We could come up with something that was permanent, something that we know works. Evolution works. We're just taking what we already know about this pathogen and some of its hosts that are already resistant to it, and we're giving that resistance to species that are out of options. Nothing else has worked for them. We're not planning on releasing any frogs, but we're building up to something that will be a frog that can be permanently resistant to this disease, a permanent solution to a global problem that is affecting biodiversity, the first of its kind.
Did you get that? A nifty solution to the problem of animal conservation. A way to save entire species of animals on the brink of extinction. Dr. Anthony makes synthetic biology look so easy, but this is literally one of a handful of teams in the world who are trying to change wild animals for the better. When I found out about his work, I was so excited. I wanted to go see him immediately. But there's one problem. I live in London, England. Anthony lives on the other side of the planet, in Sydney, Australia. This is by far the longest trip I have ever taken. 23 hours on a plane or at an airport, 11,000 miles in total. But if I wanted to see this experiment with my own eyes, there was no other way. In what is definitely the most bizarre and far-flung story on this channel, let's go where it all starts, for the frogs and for Anthony.
The things that we develop here in our outdoor facilities, and we can test our ideas in kind of a wild setting.
So this is your outdoor lab?
Yeah, so it's our outdoor, I call it the playground.
So why are these frogs so important then? Why should I care?
Wow, I can't believe you would ask me that. Amphibians are really important to the ecosystem, and they tell us how healthy water is. So is this water okay for us to drink? That type of stuff. But they also control human diseases. They're part of the ecology, which also affects us. So in areas where frogs have gone, human diseases that are carried by mosquitoes increase. So if we lose them, it's also not really good for us.
So if I came here, 50, 60 years ago, these frogs would just be like run-of-the-mill, normal. I wouldn't even bat an eyelid to see them.
Right, they were once the most commonly seen frog in Eastern Australia. And the reason they're doing so poorly isn't because of really their habitat, it's because of an invasive pathogen called Chytrid fungus. So these are all of our mesocosms, or our frog ponds. And we built them to mimic where the frogs live. So like they live on the edges of vegetation that is alongside water, so ponds edges. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. So this one has a lot of our adult frogs that we use for breeding. So if you look really carefully, you might see them, but they blend in so perfectly with the vegetation.
If you told me there were no frogs here, I'd completely believe you, until I can see the little leaves moving, and then I can see them scuttling about.
So I want to show you one more place, one of our mesocosms, and this is full of frogs that I've known for a very long time. So some of these are 7, maybe even 8-year-old frogs, and this is their retirement village. A really important individual in here to me is a frog we named Bob. We didn't really name him, the name chose him. And we actually have 2 Bobs now. So this is old Bob, and then we have young Bob, and we actually have young Deb. And old Bob is here, and young Bob and Deb are actually released to our field site.
So these frogs, Bob, is what, has been here as long as you have?
Yeah. I think what's special about Bob is he was really important for us to figure out our conservation approaches, and now young Bob gets to benefit. So young Bob and we'll say his wife Deb are now living out their best life in the wild, all thanks to Bob.
But when the frogs come here
Yeah.
to the university, this is the first place they come to Frog Village.
We can hold them here, produce offspring for experiments, but also for conservation work that we're doing.
But this is where it starts. This is where their journey into synthetic biology begins.
This is where it all begins.
Getting synthetic biology right will mean we, well, scientists, will help animals change to favourable conditions that will ensure their survival. The planet too hot? Well, change the animals to withstand our heating Earth. Invasive species decimating established one? Gene edit the native population to handle it. An apocalyptic, deadly disease that is wiping out entire branches of the tree of life? Give them immunity. But why? Why such extreme measures? Why can't we just keep doing traditional conservation, but better? The answer to that really hit home when, severely jet-lagged, I showed up to meet Anthony at the iconic site of his field experiments.
So these are the brick pits in Sydney Olympic Park. Now the public can come on this beautiful sort of canopy. Wow, look at this. Oh my goodness. But they're not allowed down there because of how important it is to endangered species and conservation. Somewhere around this gigantic space, there are green and gold bell frogs, and that's what I've come to see. Once I've taken in the view, of course.
Today's mission is to search through the mini sauna greenhouses the team have set up to find any frogs with the deadly Chytrid virus.
Here's a crinia. That's that frog that we've been hearing. That ran. They're a problem for us because they carry Chytrid.
It really wasn't until maybe 2015 that people started saying, in actual fact, it's Chytrid. So I've seen frogs sick with Chytrid in the habitat. So I've walked out into a pond area and I can see an animal sitting out, and immediately I know there's something dreadfully wrong with this animal. And then you might pick it up and have a look at it, and you can see that the skin is sloughing off it. The fungus is really active in its skin, and it's got this red flush through its belly, and the feet are red. It's really, really horrible to see, and you know that frog is so sick that it's most likely going to die.
Yeah, you wouldn't think like a skin infection caused by a fungus would be the reason they're all dying, but frogs, their skin's so important, and it's the way they absorb nutrients, and without that organ functioning properly, it's no surprise that they're dying.
I've been slogging away with my team at habitat management for 25 years, and we do that very well. And we've just had this barrier that we couldn't get through for bell frogs, and now we have the opportunity to break down that barrier, and it is amazing. It's exciting when we go out in the field and we see all these animals. You got to smile.
Because Chytrid's been such a big issue worldwide, it's not just here, and I think the stuff that we've developed is not just going to benefit us in Australia, but it could be useful worldwide. Oh, there's a frog. We found one.
Yeah.
Looks like we caught one of our baby frogs. We do have a microchip on him. Do you want to scan him?
Yeah.
So he's 49F6.
49F6. Cool. It means we've known this frog before, and it's...
He's surviving?
Yeah, and we can look back and see if he was healthy last time we caught him, if he had Chytrid or not. I mean, I can't tell right now if he's infected or not, because the frogs can have, they have chytrid on their skin. They can look completely normal. You can see this one has nice, healthy white skin. His feet and his hands all look really healthy. I think it's ready to let this guy go. He's had enough of us, and we'll put him back where we found him.
Last year, at the World Conservation Congress of over 10,000 participants, a rift blew up between those who were pro and those who were anti-synthetic biology. Motion 133 came to the floor for a vote to ban the release of any synthetically engineered wild animals and to halt work like Antony's. It failed to pass by one single vote. The reason people are going toe-to-toe like this is because of the scale of the problem. It doesn't matter where in the world you live, I know this is going to be true. Your natural environment is under pressure. Things are changing so fast that nature cannot keep up. It doesn't matter what we do, we can't seem to stop animals from dying before we can get to saving them. I met up with Jess, who's doing a weekend shift at the beating heart of this experiment, the lab.
So for food, they get a mix. They're on a strict schedule of some different types of fish food, some different vegetables, and today is the day they get veggie flakes. So next we are going to be cleaning our baby alpine tree frog tanks right here. First, we just take them out so you don't lose any. Anthony's a pioneer in the field. Right now I'm his assistant, hoping to get like a foot in the door, and still a long way to come, but I think it's going to be all worth it. It's really the way of the future, especially when dealing with pathogens and species like Chytrid that you can't eradicate from the environment.
We can't do this for every animal that needs it though, right?
No, but I don't think you can do it for every animal that needs it. Part of conservation is picking and choosing, because sadly, the way the world's going, there's thousands of animals around the world that need our help. So through CRISPR and genetic engineering, we can knock out their genes. So these have had the gene that codes for certain pigments knocked out. So we have albino frogs.
Oh my goodness, hello.
So yeah, this is a male albino frog. These are the frogs that were injected, so their eggs were injected. We've put them in here so that they can breed together, so that we can see if the genetic knockout, so removing that gene if it's passed to their offspring.
Whoa, that's...
So this is a one-of-a-kind frog. Her cells, when she was going through the process, had started splitting when the injections had started. So one cell got the knockout, one didn't, and now half of her is albino and half of her is wild type. She's one of a kind. As you can see, she's nice and fat. But we had to make sure it worked before we started working on the experiments to create a genetically resistant frog. So she's kind of step one of the entire process.
How do you feel about the ethics of doing this, of sacrificing her life or her existence for the betterment of the species or for frogs all around the world? Like, does that make you feel a type of way?
We're trying to create a frog that's genetically resistant to Chytrid and that can pass their genes to the populations in Australia that are currently here. We're not trying to create colorful frogs. We're not trying to change the way they are. We're not trying to do anything crazy with these frogs, make them fly or make them be able to talk to us. We're just trying to save them from a pathogen that's killing and decimating their populations. So it is frustrating when people don't see that.
To come face to face with frankenfrogs is incredible. And there's so much trust that we have to put into Anthony and Jess. As much as I would love talking frogs, that is way past the remits of their experiment. These frogs represent one of our first interventions into changing animals into what we want them to be. What an awesome power to create a possible world where green and gold bell frogs are just ordinary boring ones are not rare and endangered, because these frogs are super important for their ecosystems, and they've got fans who get together and try and spot them, and they want them to thrive. Farron is the youngest of this lot, and honestly, the most enthusiastic.
I feel like I see something move underwater.
Do you know about the green and gold bell frog?
I know that they're one of the few frogs that are nearly getting extinct. And if this keeps going on, they might get to extinction if this population dies.
Why do you care about the frogs? What makes them so special to you?
For me, I feel like they were some of the coolest animals I know. Like, they're so interesting to learn, their patterns, their colors.
Would you miss them if they became extinct?
Yes.
Why is citizen science, why is groups like yours so important?
They are to us because it's what we love. I'd rather be out here looking at what's going on in the environment than sitting in front of a TV screen or looking at it. That's my thing. And I don't want to keep it to myself. Everybody else, I would like them to know about and be as much in love with it as I am, right? It's self-evident to me.
I didn't really have anyone except for my grandfather. So he took this amazing picture once of me like catching tadpoles. And it's like this perfect moment of us both interacting with nature in like the most ideal way possible for us, like completely content with life and at peace. And I just think about that moment a lot because nature gave us so much. It gave him an outlet for his creative mind. It gave me an outlet for my creative mind, and we got to enjoy it together. And it's really shaped who I am as a person. Because I see nature as a way for us to connect with each other. So not just connect with animals, but how humankind can be more compassionate, more empathetic.
When you grow up, what are you going to be?
Scientist.
And what are you going to do?
Maybe work on frogs and axolotls. I don't know yet.
The green and golden bell frog had this fabulous chorus.
Let's do it.
Whoa.
Right, all right, everyone, ready?
You've got to get the at the end then.
That's perfect. Yeah. These guys are mad as a box of frogs. I mean, they're still searching. I gave up ages ago. The citizens and scientists and citizen scientists coming together in this way is something that I needed to see. And on my entire journey so far, this has been the most precious time. Because just like Anthony said I would, I'm connecting to nature in a way that I haven't for such a long time. Talking to people and trying to observe the natural world that I'm a part of. It's been an incredible journey so far.
Am I super conflicted about the ethics of this? Am I worried about the unknowable unknowns and the impact of releasing frankenfrogs into nature? No, I am not. Let me explain. I've been sugarcoating the truth of things for you. Nature isn't just under pressure. Biodiversity loss is so bad right now that 1 million species are at risk of being extinct within decades. The Living Planet Index shows a 73% reduction in wildlife populations that they monitor, and that is across the globe. It's all basically us. It's human action. Experts say that human beings have increased the rate of extinction by between 1 and 10,000 times. If animals could press a stop it immediately warning button right now, they would. Humans are dependent on the natural world, right? That's where all our stuff comes from. But things have gotten so out of control that the government here, for example, in England, say that the loss of biodiversity is now a national security threat to the country. And others think that the Earth is already heading towards the 6th mass extinction. Here, at the end, I've got more questions than I did at the start. But then I had an idea. I'm in Australia, where some of the longest standing human inhabitants are. Maybe the people of the First Nations can show me how to do conservation differently. They have been doing it and living side by side with nature for tens of thousands of years. But for that, you're going to head over to part 2 of this mini-series. I hope that you like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next episode, and please share this video with whoever you think respects and likes cool science and engineering stuff. I'll see you on the next one.